Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Hey, Rick. I'm so glad you had it reached out.
Me too. I'm excited to have you chime in on this conversation. This is our new series called Asking for a Friend. It's our YouTube, it's our YouTube series. Pardon me. So you can only see it on YouTube. So I think this is going to be a really fun way to kind of extend these conversations that we've been having and go a little deeper.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so ready. Yeah. It's like the real time is
For
what
sure.
asking for a friend is about. Yes.
Well, this week's question is: does design school make you a better designer? Does it give you an edge in this competitive market? Asking for a friend. So, I have thoughts. I know you
hmm
have thoughts. Let's hear them.
I do think going to design school made me a better designer. And I think that it it bears like if you extrapolate on that, it will help anybody get better at what they do if you
Right.
go to school for it.
Yeah, I think that design school makes you a more informed designer for
Uh-huh.
sure. Um, if the question, obviously, I would like to ask this person more questions, but assuming that they already have creative skills, that they're already talented, like I wonder if this person is thinking about going to work for another designer, entering the market that way, or actually launching their own business, because those are two very different things
Yes.
that we can both speak to.
Yeah. Like I just I I've said this before on Hot Young Designers Club and I've talked about it with a lot of people. I obviously the proof is there that there are tons of people that can become successful designers and business owners without school. And for the longest time, if you look back historically, there weren't always schools for people to attend to learn interior architecture and design. It
Right.
was mostly like taught by mentors, and you were in apprentice situations for a lot of this historically, or you just kind of winged it. So obviously there's historical evidence and like current, we can watch it happen with tons of designers. But I think the part we're not seeing is all the struggle and the self-educating and the like the messy bits that a lot of them are completely avoidable with the right education and resources to start you off with.
Right. You make a really good point. I mean, interior design has been around a lot longer than interior design school.
Yeah.
So there are so many ways to learn interior design, and design school is just one of them. And
Yeah.
I think, to that point, you have to embrace all of them,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you're going personally, career wise, or on a business level as well. Because I think if you want to enter the market and work for someone, I definitely see value in a formal education, because that's going to make you more marketable or more valuable to a team.
Yeah.
Um, on that same note, I think that having that formal education under your belt is very valuable if you're going to launch your own business. It's the first thing I did when I knew I wanted to launch my design business. I knew I wanted to be an interior designer, and I knew I wanted to have my own business. So I
Yeah.
immediately went to design school, and well, the rest is for another podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I so mine is a little different in that I had a 13-year banking career before my design career. And
Mm-hmm.
then so in 2017 I started my business, Renstead Interiors in Long Beach in Southern California. In 2012 is when I went back to school while I was still in my full-time banking job, and I went to the Art Institute locally, and that was a lot. I worked full-time in that career while still doing design school. It wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. There were definitely classes that like I was overpowered for. Like I like like any entry level courses and like art history and stuff. Like I had been to school previously. It was me going back to school to get this degree in design that I wanted. And so like I definitely had a little bit of that like early on ramp to school that I felt like, oh, this isn't necessarily helping me. But I just was like, okay, I'm a lifelong learner. I like this stuff anyway. I've got to do it to get to the degree. It's a means to an end. And I think a lot of designers probably aren't as enthusiastic about a lot of like basic fundamental courses that you take as
Mm-hmm.
just part of minimum requirements. I can see why that's not exciting for a lot of people because they see that as like, oh, it's in the way to something else.
Right.
Um, but I don't think I could have jumped in as confidently as I did when I started on my own if I hadn't gone to school, if I hadn't done my internship in order to graduate. Like
Hmm.
those, I'm not saying everything in design school is there to help you, but there are certain things that I knew as an adult learner going to school that I was like, okay, these are things that will help me functionally in my job. These are the theory things that once I get them, I don't have to like overload my brain with them anymore. I need to pay attention to the like
Yeah.
actionable things. And that's the stuff that made me like, I didn't have imposter syndrome when I started Renstead Interiors because I felt educated. I had a business background. I was confident, and I knew that I would figure out the other stuff because I would just Google it. Like,
Like the rest of us.
like the
I'm
rest
gl-
of us have to do anyway. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up confidence though, because that's a huge factor. And I can say the same thing. Like, I don't think I could have launched my business with confidence without having that education under my belt. And I agree. Like,
Yeah.
was color theory my favorite class? Not really. But throughout my design career, it was amazing how many times I would just like naturally say, oh, these colors complement each other, or these colors, maybe
Yeah.
create a mood or a vibe that's not typical. I know the rules. Now I'm here to break them, and I have
Hmm.
license to do that. So it does kind of give you that edge, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's one of those, maybe you don't leave. I didn't leave design school feeling 100% confident with my voice as a creative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can really in school. It's
No.
just, there's too much coming at you. You're constantly looking at new things. You're seeing every other student's work, which undoubtedly starts to influence it, just like Instagram influences work because we see it all the time. And I think that I left school feeling like, okay, I have basic skills. I have an instinctual voice that helps me with design. And I think school trained me to listen to that voice more,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't teach me to like get through the noise creatively. So it was real. I felt kind of unanchored when I got out of school of like, well,
Yeah.
what do I like? What do I want to do? And I didn't, I would say that, yeah, for sure. What I do now looks and feels different than what it did in 2017. But
Right.
I think that's true of everybody, and it's constantly evolving. And I still don't feel like I'm any more like there's no the path to like building that confidence and the path to like continuing to grow it. There's no end to it
Yeah.
in our world, because as soon as we get comfortable with one way of doing it or one client type, we get a new one and we have to learn a whole new set of skills to grow with them, you know?
For sure. And I think too that design school doesn't teach you where you're going in life and in your career and what
Mm-hmm.
your business is going to look like. Like, design school teaches you the design basics. And I do think that there's a ton of value in it, but I wouldn't want anyone to enter design school thinking by the time I'm finished here, I'm going to know exactly like where I'm going in life, what my career will look like,
No.
what my business will look like. Like, it's not teaching you any of that. There is so much that you have to learn outside of the classroom as well. So I think anyone that's considering design school has to keep that in mind. Like, design school is just one of the many resources that you will pull from to inform your overall business model, your
Yeah.
career path, whatever.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about that like creative edge piece that the question was talking about. And I think it's whatever your thing is, whatever you're using that. I think just for any designer, I knew that school could be a competitive edge because I knew there were other designers who didn't have that background. But not every client of mine cares or
Right.
reads anything. Some of them, I'll mention design school later and they're like, oh, I completely forgot you went to design school. Like, it wasn't a factor for them in deciding whether they would hire me or not sometimes. But I do know that the credibility building and having that is adding to decision making for people even when they don't say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and the same way that they would say, like, if I knew you're in business for more than 10 years, that played a part in me filling out your inquiry form or picking up the phone.
For sure.
School, I think, does have a similar feel because people want to look for the proof. So when you tell them, oh, I went to design school, they can look at your portfolio and then they're going to see things that they'll attribute to your training or your education. Or like, oh, look how precise that is. That had to be because they knew. Doesn't mean someone else wouldn't figure out how to install that integrated refrigerator in the same way. It just, people look for that evidence of what you're telling them is your thing. So if school is a competitive advantage talking point you want to use as a business and build that into your brand about your education, the research, you know, the work you put into every project, build your story around how school did that and what it does in your design practice. Because I think most clients probably hear, oh, you went to school, but we live in most people majored in something they don't do now. So,
so true.
If you're going to make it credible, you really have to show them how
you got to lead with
specifically works for you, because there's people who studied business administration and now they're doing something completely different. I think you like have to decide if you're going to lead with that as your advantage or not, or if you want to say, I'm like an amazing creative and I didn't need school. My brain just works this way. Then lean into that, because people are fascinated by that too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think being transparent about that is equally as important as saying, yes, I went to design school, and, you know, making that a part of your messaging, because, you know, I know some of the most incredible and notable designers in our design community never set foot in a classroom. Doesn't make them a bad designer. You know, when I spoke with, Duval Reynolds on the podcast, he referred to himself as a business owner who happens to be an interior designer. And I think that's such an interesting statement. And I would encourage this person to ask themselves, you know, am I a business owner that happens to be an interior designer, or an interior designer that happens to be a business owner? And then based on that answer, you can make a decision, because you're surrounding yourself with people that are going to support you in ways that you are not at a 10. You know what I'm saying?
Right. They're feeling like, you know, hey, if I'm going to lead with business forward, then my team has to be built around being creative forward, because I'm doing the other side.
Correct.
Or vice versa.
Absolutely.
For me, this is like maybe a hot take. I think there's a lot of designers who got into design especially the last like 10 years, but let's just say the last 5 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people got into design. There are a lot of new designers, maybe not all new experience wise, but we have a really flush market of interior designers, especially, you know, I'm in Southern California. We're inundated. You can Google and find hundreds of designers within a 25-mile radius of wherever you're at, in greater LA, greater Orange County. And I think that if you're going to stand out, I don't know. You can't just launch with the I remodeled my house story anymore.
Right.
I just don't see it working for everybody. There's too many people who've remodeled houses in our area. It's
too basic. Yeah.
Everybody's done it now. And usually, I mean, sadly to say, usually most of those homes look a lot like other homes that people are seeing remodeled. So
right.
If you're, as a designer, going to start with something, pick what that is early. Pick what your advantage is. Is it style? Is it process? Is it your education? Do you have some sort of skill that you gained in another career that superpowers what you do now? And I just feel like I watch a lot of designers when they're starting out flounder with, how am I going to get the leads? I don't have the work. I don't have this, but then they don't know how to position themselves in front of people. And it is a hard sell if you don't have a portfolio and you didn't work somewhere else. That's a hard sell. So you really are going to have to find something to make it compelling for someone to want to work with you. They either have to love you or love your style, or you got to give them a reason to believe in you.
Yeah, I think that forethought is really important, because I was just thinking as you were speaking, like, you know, if you want to be a flipper, be a flipper. If you want to work mid-level, then focus on working mid-level. If you want to be high-end, you need to know that going in. And then if design school is going to support that model, then by all means dive in. But if you're like, I just want to flip houses for a living, don't waste your time in design school. It's probably not necessary. You know, spend your time on job sites with other investors, with contractors. You know, there's better ways to get an education and to be informed in that specific area. So I think it's important to also know like where you want to land in the industry as far as design. Like if you want to do commercial or hospitality, you kind of have to go to design school.
I agree. Oh yeah.
You know?
And most firms, like bigger groups, especially like commercial and hospitality, are, my school, their program was built around an NCIDQ certification. Like, you don't have to take the exam, but we're going to make sure that all of our degree requirements line you up to where that is a possibility for you and that you could move to that, which is valuable for many people.
Sure.
I would say not as much in residential. I would bet that most interior designers would probably wish that they could like take over for the architect sooner than they wish they could get someone NCIDQ certified on their team. Like they would pick a different talent or a different skill that's more valuable.
Yeah.
But I think that having a program that really gave me the full arc of what I want to do also made it easier for me to see the types of projects that I'm not interested in doing, or that I know like, hey, I can't focus on that right now. I don't have that same background and knowledge in commercial and in hospitality, but I do feel overpowered for residential,
Right.
And it's like knowing where my skill set is made it easier for me to pay attention to my business model and the clients I want to talk to, instead of probably the default, if you're starting for a lot of people, is like, well, let me just get in front of as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few of them will work. And it's better to just be in a room of fewer people who actually want what you're doing.
I totally agree. And I will say that when I decided to go to design school, I knew going in that I wanted to do residential. And so I went in knowing that's what I was interested in, but I also went in with an open mind, knowing that I was going to learn a little bit about commercial and other areas of the industry. And that education really reinforced that I should be doing residential and that I should not be doing commercial. You know what I mean? Like once I saw that codes book, I was like, my brain does not operate that way. This will be an uphill battle for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
Not that residential has no codes. I mean, you obviously have to pay attention to a lot of stuff in residential as well.
Yeah.
But I just knew like that direction was not for me. And I don't think I would have known that unless I really experienced it in design school.
I mean, I still don't like dealing with codes.
No.
And there is still so much like new that is always happening. So for me, like I think I just kind of retrained my brain now of, oh, it's not my job to focus on that right now. Like I just will worry about that as I refine designs and as I look over things, so we get tighter, but it isn't changing as fast. And there's less, I would say like there's less criticism of if I like don't have a perfect detail that matched what the engineer did. It's like, I've never had a problem on a job site where it was like, oh, Sean screwed it up. Like it was so terrible because they were only trusting what I did. Like, I think if, that might be just like I'm working with a different set of professionals now, including architects and, more experienced builders or larger contractors who they know that what it's like to work with a designer. They know not to rely 100% on anything because they also see what liability comes back to them. So they're not looking to like foist it all onto me. They know that just doesn't play out in reality. But having built those interactions and those confidences, I couldn't have done that in design school.
Right. That's a perfect example of what you have to learn on the field. Like you need to learn that synergy between your builder and your architect, your contractors, who's responsible for what. Like you said, they know you're not bringing them structural drawings. It's not your lane. And they know that. And that's something that, obviously you learn that in school, but you really learn it out in the field as well.
Yeah. I'd really love if somehow designers could all get a really solid education in negotiation. And like just the general idea of like, okay, sure, we're not all settling lawsuits here, but it's a powerful skill even when you're solving problems with a client or you're trying to come up with who's going to pay for some of this because it's an expensive mistake. Like, how do we figure this out? I would rather designers, instead of, I might keep like a furniture history class in a lineup for them, but I would love to see instead of like fundamental, courses, if we could work on business
problem
solving
and 101.
Yeah, or even just the skills of being able to command a room during a presentation or a meeting, and knowing like, how do I create that environment? What do I do? Like, these are skills that are really going to make your job a lot easier in the beginning, because you can fake the not having the design school knowledge.
Right.
But if you can't present your ideas clearly, you can't fake that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't want to give a client, for me, if I didn't have design skill naturally, and I didn't have any talent or freelancers or someone who was helping to help bridge that gap for me, then I better show up like really professional and sharp and know what I'm talking about what everything else except that stuff I need to have locked down. I don't want to be just like general about everything with my clients. And I think that's probably like where, if you're a designer who's starting in the field and you've not had any design education or worked under a designer or a showroom or anything, that on-ramp is really fast, and it's like incline in the gym. Like, you're doing you're doing elliptical at the highest incline and as fast as you can, and the school might bring the incline down to like half.
Sure.
And maybe the speed drops a little bit, so you're not struggling so much to like invent everything from scratch constantly.
Yeah, because the school, try as they may, school cannot account for real world. Like, you need that real world experience. And I think for anybody that is thinking, should I go to design school or not? And if you make the decision to forgo it, you need to be prepared. Going back to your point right now about being in the moment, you need to be prepared to be asking a ton of questions. You need to be prepared to observe and absorb information and ask so many questions. Like, if you're not going to get that education in the classroom, and you're going to put yourself in an environment where that information is, you're surrounded by that information, you better find a way to absorb it and retain it. It's not just going to happen through osmosis. That's not how it works.
No, because think about all those like credit hours and CEU, continuing education hours and things that designers have had to do. And it's not like those hours are useless. So if someone's like, oh, you don't need design school, and they're just like a hard answer on that, I hear what they're saying. It's just they're not telling you where they're spending all that extra time asking a friend, getting updated, doing it wrong, having to fix it. Like, you're not seeing that, you're not hearing it. And I've had this conversation with plenty of fellow designers at market and everywhere. They're like, no one talks about that. Babes, no one's going to talk about that. Nobody wants to watch the Renstead Interiors Instagram page where I spend half my time talking about mistakes that I had to fix and stay up late and redo.
We don't want to talk about that.
Calling someone at the city to understand a code better or whatever, or putting it in chat. Like, no one is going to watch that. It's not the job of the world to show us that.
Sure.
It's our job to be curious, to go looking for these things, to dig deeper, to research. You hear about design studios who spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on salaries of employees to be researchers, to go and do this work. That's, if that should just tell you something, if you're thinking about this as a field, that if there are firms that need to employ people full time to actively be researching, pulling information, looking things up, getting historical photos, whatever it is, that should tell you, like, even just down to like how small I am by comparison to like some large, like a Gensler or some like giant multinational kind of corporate firm, like, they still need that help. That tells you that even at the smallest level, as a solopreneur or anywhere less than 5, you're going to be spending a lot of your time or your team's time catching up on that education that you didn't get, or fixing mistakes that you could have avoided, all of that.
Yeah, I think too that if you're a designer looking to work in an office, to work for someone else, let's just assume that you don't want to launch your own business, because not everybody wants to do that.
Not everybody wants to
work somewhere else, if you can get your foot in the door and understand what your role in that studio is going to be, and kind of learn and see what excites you and what the path to opportunity looks like within that office or within that studio, that could also be a good way to decide, do I go to school or not? If I do, what do I focus on? That sort of thing. I think that could be a good approach if you're not sure. I don't think that you're not going to get your foot in the door without a design education, because it's kind of like that weird moment where they're like, some design studios want you to have an education and some prefer that you don't, so that you don't bring any bad habits in.
Yeah, they can start you from scratch, essentially. Yes.
Yeah. And then over time decide, okay, listen, if I want to elevate my role within this studio, this is what it looks like to be a junior designer, to be a lead designer, to even be a partner. This is the type of education that they have that help get them here. And these are the requirements. And now I know what to go out and get, so that when you go out to get that education, it's a little bit more informed.
Yeah, I think you could even do that now if you got on like the Business of Home job board, or, anywhere where you're seeing design jobs or, looking for those. I think common trends I see in most listing, like employment stuff, and I don't know about you, but like CAD continues to be a major player for a lot of design firms. I feel like school is like that. And even though there are other programs, like there's a billion of them now that do it, I think it's a standard for a reason for a lot of companies. And they're probably like, if you're like me, I was trained in AutoCAD.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to speak a similar language to anyone who joins my team, or like have access to things. And I don't need to be in there messing with the plans if they're in there, but I do like to have a language that I can speak and like understand with them and help them solve some problems along the way. And I think that there's probably, and this has just been the anecdotal evidence from a lot of designers talking to me about who they're hiring. I think that's kind of I'm just going to say, like, it is kind of the fun part about podcasting and being in the industry is we have a really big bench of anecdotal evidence to draw from, and we start hearing patterns before people start hearing us talk about them.
Sure.
And one of them is like, I've heard from so many people who are trying to grow and expand their teams and hire, and it's like, okay, you don't need design school. Some of them didn't have it, worked somewhere else. Some of them do have design school, but like the skill they really need is someone who can just literally pick up the phone and handle things with vendors. And school does not prepare anybody for that. And I would say generationally, if you are young now coming out of school at like 22, if you went to say design school right after high school, 22, 23, you're graduating, you probably haven't worked a lot of service-based jobs where you have to problem solve and get on the phone constantly. And like, if you still have trouble picking up the phone to schedule an appointment with the doctor or fill a prescription, you're going to hate this job. Like, you're going to hate it forever, because we have to constantly pick up the phone with no knowledge, no background.
Yeah.
Just, I need someone to help me figure this out, or help me solve this issue, or help me. They're still charging me sales tax on my wholesale account, and I need to get this fixed so I can place orders. Like, that's a lot of our energy is spent being able to do that. And if you look down at your phone and a client's calling you and you just are like, oh God, I have to avoid that, you're never going to make it. Like, you can have your bad days or your bad moments where you don't pick up the phone.
Sure.
But this is a job where you pick up the phone to solve problems, where you talk it through quickly. An email is usually the longest and hardest way of getting to an answer. Like, it just slows the works. And I feel like there's a lot of other skills that you would need to have to offset education, professional training, transferable job skills. And school will not give you all of them. So if you're hoping that that's going to solve your problems, most of the job boards are not going to tell you that kind of stuff. They're telling you like hard skills that they need or things you need to have done before, but they're also not adding in the things that like we think of as just being part of working in a professional environment.
For sure. And so to that point, we talk about transferable skills all the time. And I've interviewed so many designers that come from backgrounds in marketing and sales and all different types of backgrounds. And we talk about the transferable skills that they bring with them to help them run their design business. And I think that could be another good thing to look at if you're deciding whether or not you want to or need to go to design school. Take into account the experience that you already have under your belt. And that could really help inform your decision as to whether or not you need to go directly into design school, or if that experience and knowledge is enough to get you in the door at a studio and show your strengths. Maybe you become a project manager, maybe you work more on the procurement and admin side, which is a huge, valuable part of this industry.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily require a design education or degree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think most, if you've been, a principal or senior and you've really had a heavy role in like either your own firm or helping another like studio owner, really like you take the lead on a lot of stuff, you're in a unique position at that point. And if you've had a lot of these corporate careers, I know so many designers who what they really need is they need a studio director.
Yeah.
They need a COO because they're looking to grow. Like they need an operating officer because they're trying to expand into partnerships or product sales, or what they really need are some of these like executive leaders who are career switchers to bring that project management, the people management, all of that other stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think that'd be kind of killer if you were like, look, I love design. I just don't want to work in the corporate beast anymore somewhere, but I have all these skills I can bring that will make life better for a small business owner. And I just want to be around pretty shit all day. Like,
I would
totally
excel in a beautiful environment. Yeah, I want to see cool stuff.
I want to be involved in this industry and the work that they do and see all of it every day and touch pretty things. And maybe you do get involved in projects a little bit. I know from plenty of designers who are like, oh yeah, our ops manager is at our meetings with us. They see this. They say, hey, didn't we just get this stuff in? Like you are still there, but the weight of it creatively and the like in the trenches work of making, elevations or renderings, that is amazing to be freed up from. And if anything, it creates more space for creativity because I would love a COO who could just sit down and do all their work without thinking. And then they have all this extra space to bring creativity and ideas and a really ambitious learner to a team. Like that, someone who could really do that is great, but someone who's coming in feeling under-skilled or under-experienced, they're going to draw most of the energy from me or a team for a while. And I don't think that most studios can support that type of energy for very long.
Right. I'm glad that we went here because I feel like we've covered kind of all the bases, all of the variables. I mean, there is no answer. Whoever submitted this question, we're not telling you, yes, go to design school or no, don't. But I think with this, hopefully this will help that individual and anyone else that's listening who's asking themselves the same question. It'll give them some guidance as to, maybe I should take a few more things into consideration to help inform that decision better, because I think there are a lot of things to take into consideration.
Yeah. It's almost like the reality for me would be that this isn't the question you should ask yourself first. It should be like so many of these other questions you ask. Do I want to be a designer? Am I a creative? Am I a business owner? Am I like, figure yourself out first and then ask if, you kind of back into, can you make a functional business that's profitable and sustainable with what I want to do or how I want to do it? I think it's the reverse equation is like, where could I see myself fitting somewhere with what I already have, and would I like that job with my skills I have now? If the highest you could ever achieve based on experience is design assistant and the pay is just not going to work, or that there's not room for growth with that, then maybe you need to look at what other skill sets and where else you could be instead. I mean, I also would say I watched a lot of people leave their own design studios to go work as reps and vendors. Like there are a million career paths out here. So you don't, it's like there's going to design school is just the smallest part of this question. There's so many other questions that it's about you knowing yourself. I think a lot of people are looking for confidence or they're looking for a leg up. And I think the confidence and the leg up isn't going to come from design school. It's going to come from what you know, what you've learned, how you can be in a room. Like those are going to be listened to first. And then, at some point when people need to start seeing the results, that's where you're going to say, gosh, design school could have helped me with getting that. But there's so many other steps before that you have to figure out.
So well said. I knew you would be so good for this question. I knew it. I'm so glad.
I'm so glad you reached out. I think this is a really cool idea to get like some more real-time conversation about a specific issue. And I kind of hate that we ended up in a it depends answer. But like so many things in life. This is one of them. It
For
just
sure.
it does depend. Yeah.
Well, Sean, thank you so much for taking the time. And everyone out there, I know we skipped introductions, but you should all know Sean already. Sean and Rebecca are the founders of Hot Young Designers Club podcast, which I love and you all love as well. And so I appreciate you taking your time from your busy design schedule and podcast production schedule to hop on this this video conference with me to share with everyone. Thank you so much for all the great advice and information. It was so valuable.
Yeah, Rick, you know that I'm always I love being cheerleaded by you, but that Rebecca and I love cheering back for you. And thank you. I'm always happy to join the conversation and get a chance to talk with you more too.
I appreciate it. And for those of you that are listening or watching, be sure to submit your questions. You can submit them online or you can email me directly from the website. If you have a question that you want to ask for a friend and get our opinion on, submit it now. Thanks, Sean. See ya.
Thanks, Rick.